preface this video, I don't consider myself an anime expert. Yeah, I watched Pokemon as a kid and I had a fucking unstoppable Yu-Gi-Oh deck. But I wouldn't have ever classified myself under the scientific term as a, weeaboo. I never really saw the appeal to anime or really any non-Western cartoon. I was pretty much under the notion that
anime is gay.
Maybe it was the art style, and maybe it was the language barrier, I don't really know. But for so long, I just wrote it off as something that I would never like, even though I had never tried it. And then comes January 2019. Being the neat shut-in that I am, I was on Reddit constantly throughout the day for most of my high school and now college experience. And if you're not on Reddit to either jerk off to the Donald Trump hate train or farm karma on r/gaming, you're looking at memes. It's become America's new pastime. So yeah, so long baseball, you had a good running for about 200 years, but the future is now. I'll subscribe to a lot of different subreddits, but most of them were meme-based. You had your history memes, your deep-fried memes, your dank memes, and then you had your anime memes, or animemes, I don't know. Even though I had literally never watched a single anime show in my life, I decided to check it out. A lot of the memes I couldn't understand, mostly due to not watching any of the shows they're referencing. But some I could. The ones that stood out to me the most were this 2D pink-haired girl with red horns doing some weird facial expressions. I'd seen this particular character before from other memes here and there throughout the year, but I wanted to see what show she was from. So I googled who she was and I found out that her name was 02 from an anime titled Darling in the FranXX. If I remember correctly, this was on like a Friday night and I decided to check out the show and watch an episode, because you know, like, what's the worst that can happen? If I don't like the show, I can just turn it off and do something else. I stayed up all night and watched the entire series. This is where my conversion began. You know how some people, if they have a close experience with death, or they have some sort of traumatic experience that changes their life forever? Well, this show did exactly that, except it was from my view on anime. I have never been so invested in a show before, ever in my life. The plot was fucking insane, and to me, every episode I watched just got better and better. It was incredible, and I had no idea that I was missing out on something that was this fucking cool. And then the ending hit. I will say I was at first in denial about it being a pretty poor ending, just because I liked the show so much. But eventually, after the high died down and everything, I knew it was a pretty bad final. The last story arc sucked ass. But the question still comes to mind, what happened with the show? After it being so good for so long, why did it just cliff dive down into an abysmal plotline? So I want to see if I can find the exact moment where the show fell off. So to start off, let's go to the episode where most people can agree was the last quote-unquote good episode in the series. And that is episode 15, Jam. If you've never seen Darling in the FranXX before, one, I'd highly recommend it because it's a pretty good show, but you may want to watch it without your parents in the room for, reasons. And two, I'll give a pretty brief summary and overview of the plotline up until episode 15. Hundreds of years in the future, the Earth is basically a desolate wasteland. Everyone lives in these giant domes called plantations in order to survive. Seems fine and dandy, right? Well, wrong. These big-ass blue dinosaurs are constantly attacking the plantations, trying to destroy them. The best way to defend the plantations and kill the shape-shifting dinosaurs is to use giant mecha robots, piloted by children, in doggy style. Yeah, hundreds of these children are created in a facility up north called The Garden, but only the best of the best are chosen to pilot the FranXX, that's what the robots are called. The ones who aren't good enough are given the giver treatment and are tossed out. One of these children, Hero, was chosen to pilot the FranXX, but for some reason can't anymore. And then this hot horned girl named 02 shows up out of the blue and asks him, hey, want to try riding it with me? And he's like, sure, why not? Then he finds out he literally can only pilot with her. Shit happens for a few episodes, and then eventually you find out that while Hero was at the garden as a child, he found out that people were torturing 02 there. 02 is part human and part Klaxosaur. That's what the dinosaurs are called. He didn't like that, so he broke her out of there, and they ran away for like half a day until they got caught, and he had his memories completely erased. She kind of had them erased. She didn't fully have them erased. The only thing she really knew is that there was one person out there who she deemed titled Darling that really liked her, and she has to try and find her darling again. In episode 13, they eventually find out that they knew each other a while ago, And Hiro gets injured, gets taken to a hospital where 02 wants to see him, but she isn't allowed because she basically almost killed him. And this brings us to episode 15. This episode encompasses the climax of this current story arc. 02 is on a berserk mode after she wasn't allowed to see Hiro, thinking that she'll never be with him, but Hiro wants to go and save 02. It happens, and they save the day, all is good, but we still got 9 more episodes left, so what's gonna happen now? Surely the people in the plantations would think that by now, after all that's happened, and some of the FranXX being ordered to kamikaze into one of the Klaxosaurs, they would rise up and start a revolution against the leaders, right? Oh, that's not what happens? We don't get to see any of the people in the plantations ever again? They just keep living their normal lives? And the leaders were aliens this entire time? Oh, okay. So yeah, fans were really not happy with the final story arc of the series. There were some good parts throughout episodes 16 through 24 that genuinely were good, and I'm glad we got to see. Kokoro-Mitsuru relationship was nice, the Thanksgiving dinner scene was pretty cool, and the Hiro/02 development was sweet as well. And Hiro's now part Klaxosaur like 02, well hell yeah, I'm on board, I'm digging that stuff. But that isn't what people were mad about. It's stuff like this. And this. And this. Really? Really? So where exactly was the tipping point for Darling in the FranXX? Most people put it at episode 15, and they're not wrong. Everything after episode 15 began the new arc, which is what has been said to have ruined the series. But if you look at the reviews, people are still pretty on board with the show even after episode 15. Episode 20, however, is where the shift really starts to see change. This is where the whole Verm and alien plotline opens up and continues for the rest of the series. In fact, I think I can pinpoint the exact moment to the second as to where I, and I'm assuming most of the watchers, shook our heads hoping that we misheard what was said. At 18 minutes and 47 seconds in, one of the ape members says, "It's the one word no one ever wants to be mentioned, especially by Studio Trigger." This is the moment where Darling in the FranXX went downhill. The following episodes just did not hold up in quality to what we saw in the series beforehand. The plot and explanations for how and why things happened just seemed unreasonable, even for a show talking about robots fighting alien dinosaurs. There's only so much you can stretch before your own fan base begins to sigh with disappointment. Again, this is just my opinion. Some people say the show was never good to begin with, and yet others will say the show was good through and through, 10 out of 10. Although I am a fan of the show, I still think it's fair to criticize it. Luckily, there is still some hope for Darling in the FranXX. Unlike most anime, where they are adaptations of light novels or other mangas, Darling in the FranXX is the complete opposite. It's an original property, meaning the manga adaptation can do whatever they want with it, essentially. As of the time I'm making this video, manga is all the way through Volume 4, and already a ton of the story has been changed from the anime, which is a good sign that the manga ending will be drastically different from the anime ending. How far it will differ, we really have no idea, we'll just have to wait. But my hope is for the ending, or at least even the entire anime, to be retconned, and to eventually make the manga headcanon. This will allow for a better conclusion to the characters and the story as a whole. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video and enjoy my content, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. I also have some of my other social media pages linked in the description as well in case you want to check them out. I hope to be posting more frequently, but I'm not going to make that promise just yet. I really do enjoy making videos like these, and I hope I can make some that my audience will enjoy as well. But until then, I'll see you next time.